This is Brandon with Fleet Feet, and today I'm going to be giving you my full review of the HOKA Skyward X. This is HOKA's first super trainer, and I know what a lot of you are going to say, the Mach X is already out and it has all the premium technologies and foams in that too, but hear me out. I think that the Mach X, while it is a very good shoe, I don't think it's a super trainer. I think it's just an elevated version of the Mach series, but I will be comparing both the Skyward X and the Mach X at the end of this review, so stay tuned for that. But for now, the HOKA Skyward X, yes, it is their first super trainer shoe. We've seen other companies like Adidas and New Balance and ASICS coming out with other super trainer variants of their own, like the Prime X Strung, the New Balance SC Trainer V1 and V2, and the ASICS Super Blast. What is a super trainer, you ask? Well, it's basically a training shoe, but it has all of the premium technologies and foams that you'd see in a carbon-plated race day shoe. Let's start with the upper of the shoe. The upper of the shoe fits quite narrow, but that was perfect for me because I have a narrow foot, so I personally enjoyed the fit and lockdown of the shoe. The standard lacing system was great. The tongue is gusseted. It is also quite padded around the tongue and heel collar area, so there was definitely a lot of comfort underfoot when I was running. Because it is a knit upper, it's not very stretchy, and it does tend to be somewhat warm, especially when I'm going through my runs. I find that that's the case with most knit uppers. They're pretty warm, but to be honest with you, it didn't really bother me out on my runs. Overall, I love the fit of this upper, and I found that it was very stable. The only thing I will say about it is that the toe box is a little bit narrow. That's the only area where I would suggest to HOKA to just widen it up just a little bit more to give a little bit room for toe splay in order to avoid any hot spots or blisters. Moving down to the midsole of this shoe, you've got two midsoles and a carbon fiber plate. So you have a PIBA midsole on the top, then you have a convex carbon fiber plate running through the shoe, as well as a supercritical EVA on the bottom that has a bit more of a rocker frame to it. So starting with the PIBA foam on the top, PIBA is a little bit more of a responsive and faster foam, one that you'll find in a lot of race day shoes. Then below that, you've got that convex carbon plate that I talked about. The convex carbon fiber plate actually bows outward in this shoe, so it kind of works as a load bearing system to then spring you out and propulse you forward. So basically when you're going through your stride, the shape of the plate is originally like this, but then when your foot hits it, it concaves inward and then propels you outward. So it actually acts as a bit of a load-bearing system, but then a spring as well. And then on the bottom, like I mentioned, you have that supercritical EVA, which actually gives it just a little bit more stability underfoot. It is the firmer of the two foams, but it definitely felt very soft underfoot. So overall, this shoe is a very soft feeling ride underfoot. It is very bouncy. It does have a little bit of pep to it, but I wouldn't consider it a very fast shoe. So overall, if you're looking for something that's just very bouncy, a lot of fun to run in, is very cushioned and soft, this is a great option. One of the only downsides about this shoe is that it rides a little bit heavy. I do think that the shoe felt a bit heavy on my run, so that is something that I would look out for. For enhanced stability, there's actually a cradle system here in the heel. So what you've got is this plastic piece on the back in red, and then you can see that the midsole actually rides up very high on the heel. So when you're going through your stride, you won't get any heel lift in this shoe, and there will be a great heel lock. Overall, I found that this was one of the better parts of the shoe, and it kept me very stable while I was going through my stride. But now moving down to the outsole of this shoe, you can tell that it just has a pretty traditional rubber coverage here and a very wide base. The wide base actually helps with just making sure that you're more stable underfoot, especially with such a high stack shoe. But overall, on most of my longer or easier runs in this shoe, I found that the traction and durability and grip were great. The Fleet Feet team also really enjoyed this shoe. Most of our reviewers got the opportunity to test out and try the shoe and share some of their thoughts. Mandy said that there was only one word that came to mind while she was running in this shoe, and that was smooth. I agree with Mandy. It is a very smooth ride, and I think coupled with the very soft midsole foam and the rocker technology, you get that very smooth sensation when rolling through your stride. Heather found that the upper fit was very secure underfoot. Again, I agree with that as well, especially with the fact that it is a more narrow fitting upper. And while Caroline agrees that the shoe isn't all that fast, she definitely felt that the shoe took a lot of the impact off of her body when she was running. This shoe comes in at 9.6 ounces or 261 grams for a women's size 8, and for a men's size 10, it comes in around 11.3 ounces and 320 grams. 11.3 ounces for a shoe is pretty heavy. So that is the only area that I think that HOKA should definitely be trying to cut some weight in and trying to just slim down or lighten up this shoe in some way while still retaining a lot of its magic. The stack of the men's model comes in around 48 millimeters in the heel and 43 millimeters in the toe. And the women's model comes in around 46 millimeters in the heel and 41 millimeters in the toe. toe for a 5mm drop. HOKA has decided to go way beyond the 40mm limit that is race legal, but has decided to make a very high stack plush cushion shoe. I personally love the higher stack in this shoe. I don't enjoy a ground feel when I'm going through my stride, so this was perfect for that. Overall, I loved that this was a high stack shoe, so if you're someone who enjoys a high stack shoe, then I think this would be a great option for you. The HOKA Skyward X comes in at $225. This shoe is certainly on the pricier side. $225 is a lot of money for especially just a running shoe. I love the HOKA Skyward X, and I think that it might be my favorite running shoe so far of 2024, so I do think that it is worth every single penny. I think there was a little bit of confusion because when the Mach X came in, it had all of the premium technologies that you'd find in a race day shoe. So most people thought to themselves, oh, okay, this must be HOKA's super trainer. But I think what HOKA really intended the Mach X to be was an up-tempo daily trainer and a more elevated version of the Mach. The HOKA Skyward X is a completely different model in the series, and I think is intended specifically for the super trainer category. The HOKA Mach X is much faster, it is more propulsive, it has a lower stack, and it is a little bit peppier on step-in feel, but the HOKA Skyward X is just a little bit slower, it's more bouncy, it's more cushioned, it's more relaxed underfoot, so you're gonna get two very different sensations in these shoes. The Mach X you're gonna wanna use for tempo runs and faster days, and the HOKA Skyward X you're gonna wanna lace up for long run days and some of those easier miles. While both the HOKA Mach X and the HOKA Skyward X share a lot of the premium technologies and foams that you'd see in a lot of other super trainers, like the dual density foams or PIBA or carbon fiber plate, I think that there's a lot of differences between these two. So if you don't want to break the bank and you just want a lower profile, faster shoe with a lot of the premium technologies, then I would go with the HOKA Mach X. But if you still want all those premium technologies, you want a more cushioned shoe, you want a more plush ride underfoot, and you want a higher stack, then go with the HOKA Skyward X at $225. Most of the team agreed they love this shoe as well, and especially after this review, I'm going to continue to lace this shoe up and run in it more and more. My first impressions of this shoe were positive, but also now that I've run even more miles in it, my full review of this is still positive. For HOKA loyalists out there who don't want to run in the SC Trainer or the Asics Super Blast, then I would definitely recommend that they try out the HOKA Skyward X as their Super Trainer companion. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to hear more about the HOKA Skyward X, you can check out the full review on fleetfeet.com. Viewers not only discuss the HOKA Skyward X, but review all of the HOKA shoes that are coming to market this year. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, follow us on all of our social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and all of the other channels that we have coming your way.